Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. Last week I was introduced to a musical group called The Fates, and they have three vocalists. And I was like, okay, that'd be pretty cool to do for this week, but I kind of listened to most of what was available of their original works, but I found out that they've come back under a brand new name and actually put out a music video a couple of years back, which is their latest. I figured that's what we could check out, especially since I haven't heard it yet. We're going to be looking at the group How's About Charlie with the track The Tower. Let's dive in. See what How's About Charlie is bringing to the table today.
Let us begin.
There's a lot of tension. I like the bouncing around coming into this vocal part. Harmony and counterpoint. Yeah, I can get behind this. The glockenspiel in the back, the electric guitar kind of giving the song, I'd say giving it a bit more bite, but then we had the vibrating wood. What is that instrument called? I know y'all have told me it before. Nice rundown on that guitar. So many moving parts here. They haven't had a violin before either. Little dash of some Dream Theater inspiration. Interesting way to bring us back to this chorus. So we've brought back
Shivering, shivering, made it this far.
the intro.
Feeling so lost, or find a repose. Feel so alone, it's so quiet.
Nice way of bringing that full circle then. Yeah, there's a lot that I dig in here, but it's because a lot of this ends up being very layered and intricately uh, worked in several parts being intricately worked into each other, and I'm just a huge fan of that. I know that's one of the things that I love pointing out in more technical music is just the way that we can bring a bunch of parts, individual parts together into something more complex and dense. And I think that this song achieves that really well. I mean, there are multiple sections where we will have some sort of baseline element, a usually the guitar, just kind of creating a single note, holding it out at the bottom, boom, 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 just kind of creating like this foundation, this floor for everything. And then we'll have like a bell, glockenspiel or something, and then two vocals harmonizing here, and then a third vocal doing counterpoint here, and then a violin doing something moving in the background too. And it's just like all these instruments layering up on top of each other, and it always sounds so good. The production is exceptionally clear. I will say though, I think my only criticism would be that the production feels a little bit flat. You don't really notice it too much in the more acoustic sections. I think everything's rather balanced there. But when we brought in the electric guitar, when we had that electric guitar solo, when we had the big bombastic point right before the ending, the penultimate section, and we had all the layered like screaming and stuff going on. We're gonna get to that section in a second in more depth. I found that to be an interesting moment in the track, but this should have been really large and bombastic, and it didn't really feel that way. I think a little bit of punch in the production would have made that pop a little bit more. It would have given it more of the oomph I think it was asking for. Though I do appreciate the clarity of it. It's just a very readable and listenable mixing style. And I appreciate that just from an analytical perspective. I could hear everything in this, but I do think that the bigger, louder moments just they didn't have that punch um, that I thought would have helped them stand out a bit and be felt more so than heard. But yeah, I think that's really my only criticism on this one. But all the layered parts, man, it's so good. It's the way everything clicks and works together. I also dig the general pacing and flow of this song. We start off with a single ticking of a clock, something along those lines. And then we bring in the bells, and then some vocals, and then some acoustic guitar, and then more vocals. This is where we begin to add the harmonies and the counterpoint. It's just a really nice layering up of ideas, starting from nothing and adding parts little by little until we can get the general idea of the song. I don't think we ever return back to that nothing vibe. We kind of fade out into a very minimal sound after the bombastic section. Maybe we did go back to like nothing, but I don't think we came up slowly. We just kind of chucked everything in at once while still retaining a smaller atmosphere. So yeah, this I think is the only part where we have this build up where we kind of show how everything is stacked on top of each other. Um, and so we have this slow pacing. Like this is nothing, and then this is one piece. This is a foundation, and then this is melody. This is counterpoint. This is harmony. We slowly bring all the elements in. Now you can feel the entirety of the song. We enter the chorus for the first time. Um, and here we continue to see more of the counterpoint, the harmonized counterpoint, where the lead vocal is singular and the counterpoint is dual. There's two vocalists on that one. And I love that. Just something about the rhythms, the melodies that they wrote for how the counterpart exists. And then how, again, it's not usually the only piece of counterpart either. We usually have some sort of instrument also playing another less moving melodic idea, whether it's the glockenspiel or it's the violin or an acoustic guitar or something. There's always another melodic instrument alongside the vocals. Again, just layers of melodies creating these interlocking parts. I mean, that's like the thesis statement of this song. You're like, let's layer up melodies, and that's it. That's the entirety of the track, and it works so well. Um, from here, though, we go back into the verse, and this is where things start to kick up a little bit. We introduce the violin for the first time. I think at the end of this, we begin to showcase. It was either here or the second chorus where the electric guitar comes in quiet. Hasn't really taken over yet, but you can feel this rock vibe starting to show up. And so again, we're adding more layers. We're building it further. The second chorus is larger than the first. We have some electronic instrumentation in here. The drums have begun to expand. It's still about bringing this intensity up. We're going to talk about intensity in a second, especially when I want to get into harmony, chords, emotions, atmosphere, that kind of stuff. But we are raising the intensity pretty consistently throughout this track. And of course, it comes to a head here in the bridge. This is the big moment. The electric guitar comes in. I called this the Dream Theater inspired section. We have the guitar solo. We have a harmonic shift. We change modes, maybe keys for a brief moment here. And of course, from here, we get into the layered screaming and despair, and even a couple of like compressed, almost like throaty. They're not like metal growls, not like a proper musical growl, but just like a really guttural sound, just like really getting into that throaty sound. I found that to be interesting. I was not expecting anything like that. Honestly, I wasn't expecting any of the screaming at all. It's so atonal and dissonant, which is it stands in stark contrast to the beautiful harmony that's crafted throughout this song. All the interlocking parts in here, just a bunch of random stuff overlaid on top of each other to create something that feels chaotic. It works. It's just not what I expect from this group. So I thought that was kind of neat, working a little bit, maybe not outside of their comfort zone, but outside of what I've come to know them for in just the week that that I've heard about them. Um, and this is just like a big moment, and it reaches a peak, and then it just dissipates, and we bring back the sort of like dark circus vibe that we had at the beginning with the glockenspiel. It was the very first section of the song, and we bring in a return of the vocal melody and counterpoint from the opening verse to put on top of that to wrap the song up, bringing it full circle. We end the track where we began it. As far as I think the words were probably changed. I don't know. I didn't pay a lot of attention to the lyrics as usual, but musically we've returned to a melody line and an atmospheric idea from the very beginning of the song. So I do think it's cool to bring that cyclicality back, because everything else has been a slow burn. Well, kind of, right? I mean, let's look at it this way, right? I talked about intensity, right? Constantly rising. Every section has more layers than the one previous. The first chorus is denser than the first verse. The second verse is denser than the first chorus. And the second chorus is denser than the second verse. And the bridge being the climax. I don't necessarily think it's denser as far as layers, but we do have the electric guitar, the full drum kit, I think, in there. It has more of the the non-harmonized vocals, the screaming and stuff like that. So the cacophonous layering, I guess we could say, rather than the harmonious one. And it makes it feel much larger, even though I don't think that there's more moving parts in this one. So, in a sense, we have a linear movement. The song is always escalating, but it does follow a verse, chorus, bridge, verse format. So, in that way, it's cyclical. So when I say that we end where we began, the whole song's been a song of cycles. But how I view it more is the escalating and rising tension, and then the end of the song is right back at square one with the same instrumental lines and the same melodies in that beginning of the song. So it's kind of cool. It is linear on one perspective, but cyclical, rather standard as far as the technical structure goes on it. Another way to look at it could be variation, in that while we do move between a verse and a chorus back and forth, each verse and chorus builds on what comes before it. So we are providing variation on the idea. The verses, I think, have the same vocal melodies to them. Same goes for the chorus. I don't think that the lead element changes at all, but it's the atmospheric, it's the foundational, it's the ornamental ideas that are being adjusted for every repetition. Now, I mentioned this middle part, the bombastic bridge, got that alliteration going there. This ended up working really well because, well, I guess, man, I kind of touched on all the things I wanted to talk about here in other places. But the reason that I think this works as well as it does, despite being so different from the rest of the track, is the subtle build up into it. Each section has been becoming progressively more tense. It's become progressively more, I don't know if dangerous is the right word. We start off with a bit of a spooky vibe with that dark carnival sounds. And I would say that the atmospheres become more filled with gloom. Danger just feels like the wrong word. This doesn't feel like a dangerous song. Maybe it's the production, maybe it's the beauty in all the melody writing. It never quite has. Maybe also I'm just completely thrown off by all the metal that y'all have me listen to. Um, like this just doesn't have the edge that, say, black metal does. And so, comparative to what y'all usually have me listen to, this doesn't feel that dangerous. But I do feel like there's a negativity in the harmonic element here. We do lean into that more and more across the verse and chorus, but here in the bridge we have this harmonic shift. The guitars take on a role that, at least to me, harmonically, it tries to lean a little further away from the danger and into, as best as I can describe it, is just edge. It kind of just has a bit of a, I mean, it's focused around pentatonic, but a little bit more than that. So it comes off as like proggy rule of cool, if that makes sense. It has a little bit of jazziness to it in a way that, to me at least, spices it up a little bit with fun. But I really think the intention here was to make whatever was creeping on the outskirts of the song previously, to put it front and center, for this electric guitar to be this danger now in the center of the track. The vocals, what were the highlights and primary melody deliverer of the entire song up to this point, are completely gone in this bridge. All we have is the guitar solo giving us this melody line. I really felt that this was supposed to be the antagonist, taking over the lead role away from the vocalists, removing their voice from the track. And the shift in harmony, I believe, was supposed to just be something that fit the electric guitar sound better, to bring in this rock vibe. And I think it does it. It just doesn't quite stick that landing for me. And I don't know if it's because of the Dream Theater esque sound. Maybe if they had gone for like a progressive. Well, see, here's the thing, too, right? If they had gone into a more extreme metal route, I think that the energy would have fit the intentions, but then this section would have felt very different from the rest of the song. As it stands, I think this section works well within the track because it's kind of a bit more restrained. So, yeah, I think it's a difficult line to walk. And it might be one of those situations where, as I mentioned earlier, the production might help sell this section a little bit better. After the guitar gets its, like 30-ish bars of solo, we have these layered vocals coming in. I do like this part in intention. I don't know if the execution is 100% great, but I like the intention behind it. And for that, I'm going to give it a pass. It feels chaotic. It feels like whatever the guitar was doing has been accomplished, and the vocals that were so in tune with each other at the beginning are separated, they're scattered. They're not even, they're not locked in to each other anymore. We've lost that beautiful, intricate counterpart. We've lost the harmony. They're isolated, but it's also no longer melodic either. It's just screams and wails of anguish. It's really great storytelling that, at least to me, I can see this narrative being told about this guitar driving a wedge between these vocalists at the beginning and separating them out, isolating them, and bringing them all misery of a sort. The fact that I can get that story out of it tells me that they're doing something very right. Even if the end result, what I hear in my ear, I feel is a bit underwhelming at times, I still think the artistry is there. And that's why I really like this section. It does feel a bit odd for what I expect from them, but it creates a fantastic narrative. And I'm always down for music that tells a story. Then, like I said, we wrap it up back at square one. To me, it sort of implies that, well, there's two implications here. One, the vocals do realign. We get the counterpoint and we get the harmonies back. But also musically, it's still kind of eerie. That's the word, not dangerous. This song's eerie in a lot of places. I wish I had thought of that word earlier. Anyways, the eeriness has returned. So, as far as I can see it, our protagonists have realigned. They have defeated this guitar character, the protagonist or the antagonist. But whatever caused them, whatever greater power might have been hovering over the guitar is still present. The day hasn't been saved, so to speak. This is a cliffhanger for the next episode. Next time on How's About Charlie. um, and so now I'm just like, yeah, where's more? Unfortunately, there isn't. Not at the time, anyways. This came out in October of 2022, so just over 2 years ago, and they have a cover of a song that they've released since then, but otherwise, nothing. So I hope that they're still making music. I'm going to hit some lyrics on this. We're going to see what's going on there, if I can find any. And then we're going to wrap this video up. Alright. So this song is a bit vague in what it's particularly pointing towards, but the general concept is the destructive nature of being in a competitive field where the competition is cutthroat, where backstabbing those who are trying to climb that same ladder will give you a leg up in the race. Now, my mind immediately goes to like a corporate structure, but like I said, there's no defined finger being pointed here. It just talks about a general race, a general climbing of a ladder, where it's sort of meaningless and everyone at the top is sort of broken and alone and tired. The verse says, winding about the wall seems to bend, climbing the tower dizzying, stone after stone, thirsty for gold, hollow and cold, higher and higher. And the tolls determine who climbs. Value coin, but not my mind. Show one face and the other one hides. So saying that this race, right, this climbing of the tower, says that there's a selection process to who gets to do it. And that what's valued is money, not necessarily intelligence or possibly even empathy. It says it's not my mind that's valued, but the coin. And it says that people here are two-faced. You show one face and the other one hides. Now, the chorus here, I don't think I remember hearing this in the song, but the first chorus is shortened. It says it means nothing at all. No, it means nothing at all. However, every other time through the chorus, we hear this 4 times rather than just 2. The second verse says, tolling of bells, the clock strikes the hour. I like this. I wasn't necessarily thinking of a clock tower when uh, when I was imagining this ladder climb, but we do start the song off with a ticking of a clock, and the song is called A Tower. I wonder if this element of time is something that is sort of on the periphery of all of this. Well, actually, it is. I'm not gonna bury the lead there. We'll get to the end. We'll see that time is an element of this. But we bring up a clock here. It says, is there no end? It's staggering. I have my eyes on the prize, but the halls they whisper, and I have my grip on the rail urging me and calling me, like a mouse that runs the wheel, a mindless sprint until its next meal. Just close your eyes to see how it feels. It means nothing at all. It's the rat race. It's completely meaningless, but people give it meaning, or intrinsically, they provide it meaning. And usually, as we see at the beginning, the meaning is money. All of it's to make just a little bit more than you did yesterday. At this point, I believe is when we reach the bombastic prog rock section. Our vocalists split up. I think this division of the vocalists, we're losing the harmony, we're losing the interconnectedness of the writing. It's become more cacophonous. This is the separation of people because no one can climb a corporate ladder or whatever ladder they're pointing towards here together. Anybody who you're helping is dragging you down. And so we've created this divisiveness within the music itself. But then we return back. Everything is locked back in place here for the final verse. And it says here at the top, standing on bones, empty and spent, shivering. I made it this far, but feeling so lost. Our final repose feels so alone. It's so quiet. Yeah. You have gotten rid of everything that could matter in your life. You've dedicated everything to the climb. You've lost friends. You've lost relationships. You've lost everything. You made this climb the only thing important to you, and that's the only reason you're at the top. Well, now you get to be lonely and tired up here. You don't know who you are anymore. Dedicating your life to one task, and now you've accomplished it. Congratulations. So it does make me wonder about the ending, though. I think a lot of this can be understood, the rising intensity as you get higher up the climb. You have sunk time fallacy going on. So you're like, oh, now I got to put more into this because I'm so far up. I don't want to lose all this progress. And so you begin sacrificing more of your connections to people, your social ties, your work-life balance, all that stuff, right? Everything begins to get more intense. The layers begin to pack more weight on you. It becomes more difficult to stay in the lead. And then we have the chaotic break in the bridge. Musically, like I mentioned, the vocalists come back together. To me, I'm kind of hoping that this means that in my read of this narratively, which is probably not accurate, but I'm going to keep rolling with it. I'm hoping that the three vocalists, as protagonists in the story, have decided to abandon the climb and rekindle their social ties with each other. To realize that working together is more important than climbing this ladder. But it also stands that the lyrics don't match this at all. The lyrics about how lonely it is at the top. And part of me kind of wishes that we had returned to this verse with just one vocalist so that we could really feel the impact of it. We are familiar with this section, with this atmosphere, with this melodic line, but not without the supporting, accompanying counterpoint and harmony. How lonely would that have felt after hearing this melody line twice already with the full composition? And that would have lined up really well with my narrative story, so I'm being a little bit biased here, but also would have lined up with the lyrical themes and story going on here as well. I think that would have been pretty cool. So, those are my thoughts though. How's about Charlie's The Tower? What did you think of this track? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own interpretation or thoughts about this. Please put all of that down in the comment section and anything else you want to add. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you to here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, in the description box, still though, I'm going to put links to How's About Charlie's page as well as The Fates if you want to go check out their older works. They're a very small group, and I'd like to get as many eyes on them as possible since I've been enjoying their music. I think they should be a little bit bigger. Above all that, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell. If you head on over to any of their pages, make sure you like, subscribe, hearts, thumbs up, whatever social media platform metrics are being used wherever you land. Show them some love from the Critical Reactions community. All right. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.